The disastrous military events which have happened during the past fortnight have not come to me with any sense of surprise. Indeed, I indicated a fortnight ago as clearly as I could to the House that the worst possibilities were open, and I made it perfectly clear that whatever happens in France would make no difference to the resolve of Britain and the British Empire to fight on. If necessary for years, if necessary alone. During the last few days, we have successfully brought off the great majority of the troops we had on the line of communication in France, and 7/8 of the troops we have sent to France since the beginning of the war, that is to say, about 350,000 out of 400,000 men are safely back in this country. Others are still fighting with the French, and fighting with considerable success in their local encounters against the enemy. We have also brought back a great mass of stores, rifles, and munitions of all kinds, which had been accumulated in France during the last 9 months. We have therefore in this island today a very large and powerful military force. The force comprises all our best trained and our finest troops, including scores of thousands of those who have already measured their quality against the Germans and found themselves at no disadvantage. We have under arms at present time in this island over 1.25 million men. Behind these we have the local defense volunteers, numbering 500,000, only a portion of whom, however, are yet armed with rifles and other arms. We have incorporated into our defense forces every man for whom we have a weapon. We expect very large additions to our weapons in the near future, and in preparation for this, we intend forthwith to call up, drill, and train further large numbers. Those who are called up or else are employed during the vast business of munitions production in all its branches, and their ramifications are innumerable, will serve their country best by remaining at their ordinary work until they receive their summons. We have also over here Dominion armies. The Canadians had actually landed in France but have now been safely withdrawn, much disappointed but in perfect order, with all their artillery and equipment. And these very high-class forces from the Dominions will now take part in the defense of the mother country. In the defense of this island, the advantage to the defenders will be much greater than they were in the fighting around Dunkirk. We hope to improve on the rate of 3 or 4 to 1, which was realized at Dunkirk. And in addition, all our injured machines and their crews, which get down safely and surprising, a very great many injured machines and men do get down safely in modern air fighting. All of this will fall in an attack upon these islands on friendly soil and live to fight another day, whereas all the injured enemy's machines and their complements will be total losses as far as the war is concerned. I have brought it right upon this occasion to give the House and the country some indication of the solid practical grounds upon which we base our inflexible resolve to continue the war. There are many good people who say, never mind, win or lose, sink or swim, better die than submit to tyranny and such a tyranny. And I do not dissociate myself from them, but I can assure them that our professional advisor of the 3 services unitedly advise that we should carry on the war and that there are good and reasonable hopes of final victory. We have fully informed and consulted all the self-governing dominions, these great communities far beyond the oceans who have built up on our laws and on our civilization, and who are absolutely free to choose their course, but are absolutely devoted to the ancient motherland, and who feel themselves inspired by the same emotions which lead me to stake our all upon duty and honor. We have fully consulted them, and I have received from their prime ministers, Mr. Mackenzie King of Canada, Mr. Menzies of Australia, Mr. Fraser of New Zealand, and General Smuts of South Africa, that wonderful man with his immense profound mind and his eye watching from a distance the whole panorama of European affairs. I have received from all these eminent men who all have governments behind them, elected on wide franchises, who are all there because they represent the will of their people, messages couched in the most moving terms in which they endorse our decision to fight on, and declare themselves ready to share our fortunes and to persevere to the end. That is what we are going to do. I do not see how any of these factors can operate to our detriment on balances before the winter comes, and the winter will impose a strain upon the Nazi regime. With almost all Europe withering and starving under its cruel heel, which for all their ruthlessness will run them very hard. We must not forget that from the moment when we declared war on the 3rd September, it was always possible for Germany to turn all her air forces upon this country, together with any other devices of invasion she might conceive, and that France could have done little or nothing to prevent her doing so. We have therefore lived under this danger, in principle and in a slightly modified form, during all these months. In the meanwhile, however, we have enormously improved our method of defense, and we have learned what we have no right to assume at the beginning, namely that the individual aircraft and the individual British pilot have a sure and definite superiority. Therefore, in casting up to this dread balance sheet and contemplating our dangers with a disillusioned eye, I see great reason for intense vigilance and exertion, but none whatever for panic or despair. We do not yet know what will happen in France, or whether the French resistance will be prolonged, both in France and in the French Empire overseas. The French government will be throwing away great opportunities and casting adrift their future if they do not continue the war in accordance with their treaty obligations, from which we have not felt able to release them. The House will have to read the historic declaration in which, at the desire of many Frenchmen and of our own heart, we have proclaimed our willingness at the darkest hour in French history to conclude a union of common citizenship in this struggle. However matters may go in France or with the French government or other French governments, we in this island and in the British Empire will never lose our sense of comradeship with the French people. If we are now called upon to endure what they have been suffering, we shall emulate their courage, and if final victory reward our toils, they shall share the gains. And freedom shall be restored to all. We abate nothing of our just demands. Not one jolt or title do we receive. Czechs, Poles, Norwegian, Dutch, Belgians have joined their causes to our own. All these shall be restored. What General Weygand called the Battle of France is over. I expect that the Battle of Britain is about to begin. Upon this battle depends the survival of Christian civilization. Upon it depends on our own British life and the long continuity of our institution and our empire. The whole fury and might of the enemy must very soon be turned on us. Hitler knows that he will have to break us in this island or lose the war. If we can stand up to him, all Europe may be free and the life of the world may move forward into broad, sunlit uplands. But if we fail, then the whole world, including the United States, including all we have known and cared for, will sink into the bliss of a new dark age, made more sinister and perhaps more protracted by the light of perverted science. Let us therefore brace ourselves to our duties and so bear ourselves that, if the British Empire and its Commonwealth last for 1,000 years, men will still say this was their finest hour.